Have you ever felt that the more clearly you see the world, the harder it becomes to connect with it? You're not alone. In a world obsessed with speed, distraction, and certainty, those who question, reflect, and explore complexity often find themselves standing apart. Not because they choose solitude, but because clarity comes at a cost. Deep thinking has always been a double-edged sword. It grants vision, but blinds you to comfort. It offers insight, but often takes away simplicity. And most painfully, it distances you, not physically, but existentially, from the world around you. Why does this happen? Why do those who seek truth often end up alone? To understand this, we need to step back into history, into psychology, and into the very structure of how the human mind resists depth. Let's begin with a basic observation. Society is not designed for truth. It's designed for cohesion. From an evolutionary perspective, survival was never about who thought the deepest thoughts. It was about who fit in, who could build alliances, who could follow shared beliefs, rituals, and customs. Thinking too much was never part of the tribal skill set. Early humans didn't sit around debating existential dread. They shared myths, bonded through stories, and trusted consensus. Those who deviated too far, those who asked too many questions, were often cast out. And while we may no longer live in caves or gather around fires, this tribal instinct lingers. When you think deeply, when you question what others take for granted, you're not just challenging ideas. You're challenging the very foundation that holds a group together, and that makes people uncomfortable. We live in a society where comfort is king, where fitting in is rewarded, where complexity is treated as a threat. Imagine you're at a casual dinner. Everyone's discussing the latest show, the newest trend, or weekend plans. You introduce a thought, something about mortality, consciousness, or the illusion of choice. The table goes quiet. The energy shifts. Eyes glance away. It's not you, it's the thought. You've broken the rhythm. You've peeled back the surface and exposed a deeper layer that most people spend their lives trying to ignore. And this isn't because people are shallow or unintelligent. It's because we're wired to resist discomfort. Deep ideas require effort, and more than that, they challenge identity. When you challenge someone's ideas, you're not just disagreeing. You're threatening the story they tell themselves about who they are. This is what makes deep thinking feel so isolating. Most people don't react to ideas logically. They react emotionally, instinctively. And deep thoughts often trigger what psychologists call ego defense mechanisms. When someone hears something that conflicts with their beliefs, their mind doesn't say, let's consider that. It says, danger. That thought threatens your sense of control, your self-image, your stability. And so it is rejected, not through reason, but through resistance. This is why philosophers, visionaries, and truth seekers have often found themselves on the margins. Think of Nietzsche, exiled by academia, dying alone and misunderstood. Think of Simone Weil, who starved herself in protest of injustice. Or even someone like Alan Watts, celebrated now but dismissed in his time as too mystical. These were not failures. They were simply ahead of their time, seen as threats rather than beacons. And this leads to a paradox. The more clearly you see, the harder it becomes to be seen. Because deep thinkers often see the cracks in society, the contradictions, the illusions, the hypocrisy. They notice what others overlook, and in doing so, they stop playing the social game the same way. But here's the twist. Clarity does not grant superiority, it grants alienation. The deeper your awareness, the harder it is to find common ground. You start to feel like a stranger in your own culture, a ghost in conversations that never go beneath the surface. You begin to realize that much of society operates on collective denial. Denial of death, of suffering, of injustice, of meaninglessness. And once you've seen through that, it's impossible to unsee. So what do? Some deep thinkers retreat. They withdraw, choosing solitude over the pain of shallow interaction. Others mask their depth, learning to play the social game just enough to get by. A few try to bridge the gap, to translate deep ideas into accessible language. But it's a constant tension. And still, the world spins on. This isn't a call to give up. On the contrary, it's a call to understand. To understand the terrain you walk as a deep thinker. Because once you see the landscape, you stop blaming yourself for the isolation. You stop wondering what's wrong with you. You realize it's the cost of clarity. But that doesn't mean the journey is hopeless. In fact, it's essential. Because while society resists deep thinkers, it also needs them, desperately. It's the deep thinkers who have reshaped the moral compass of civilization, who've questioned authority, challenged dogma, and reimagined the future, who've asked the hard questions and endured the loneliness that comes with them. Progress has never come from the echo chamber. It's come from those willing to step outside it. But how do you survive as a deep thinker in a shallow world? Start by embracing solitude, not as exile, but as sanctuary. Time alone is not empty, it is fertile. It is where your mind can roam free, unfiltered, uninterrupted. Then seek kindred minds, not many, but a few. One meaningful conversation is worth more than 100 polite ones. Read thinkers who resonate with your questions, engage with ideas that stretch your soul, and most of all, learn to hold both truths at once. That you may often feel alone, but you are not alone in feeling this way. Across centuries, across continents, others have walked this path, quietly, courageously. You are part of a long, silent lineage, a hidden fellowship of those who think, reflect, and question. You may not see them around you, but their thoughts fill the pages of books, the verses of poetry, the symphonies of lonely composers, and even the still moments between distractions. There is a quiet rebellion happening, not with slogans or protests, but with questions, with silence, with refusal to settle for easy answers. So, if you've ever felt alone because you think too much, know this: your mind is not a curse, it is a mirror. And while mirrors can isolate, they also reflect truth. And truth, while often unwelcome, is always needed. In the end, deep thinkers are not meant to fit in. They are meant to see beyond. And in seeing beyond, they light a path for those who are still searching in the dark. So walk your path, think your thoughts, ask your questions, even if your voice trembles, even if no one claps. Because sometimes the most important truths are not the ones that go viral. They're the ones whispered in the quiet corners of the world by minds like yours.